Greetings, everyone. I go by the name Nora. A 26-year-old woman serves as an office secretary for a real estate firm in New York. I recently tied the knot with my partner, who serves as an army officer. At first glance, my married life seemed stable, and my position at the firm was quite ordinary. However, it dawned on me that my boss, an accomplished and charismatic married man, appears to have been watching me since my very first day on the job. At first, there were merely lingering glances and playful quips. As a newcomer, I consistently aimed to maintain my distance and steer clear of drawing attention to myself. Yet, I couldn't ignore the fact that the attention from my boss set me apart from the rest. Today, I want to share a personal story about a misstep I took when I found myself lost and became involved with my employer. In the days that followed, I distinctly remember the moment he assumed the role of my supervisor and started to observe me in a peculiar way. At first, there were merely a handful of lingering glances and playful quips. I found myself as a typical newcomer at the firm, striving to blend in and avoid standing out too much. However, my supervisor, an accomplished, attractive, and confident man, seemed to take an interest in me. I couldn't deny that he possessed a certain charm and appeal. The early exchanges were playful and almost naive. He often praised my work, showing a level of attention that surpassed that of my other colleagues. Initially, I believed that was the standard, the focus of a leader. However, over time, I started to notice a shift in the way he interacted with me. His compliments filled me with happiness, and at times, a sense of pride began to blossom within me. I came to understand that I was feeling emotions I had never encountered before. He consistently discovered ways for us to share moments together. Regardless of the brief meetings or the chats after hours, I was aware that this wasn't accurate, given that he had a family and I was married. His attention enveloped me in a sense of uniqueness and worth. His attention, in its own unique manner, made me feel significant. It felt as though I transcended the role of a mere employee, becoming someone who truly captured his attention each time our eyes met. The stares would stretch out, lingering in the air, while his words, a blend of sincerity and jest, would send my heart into a delightful flutter. The emotion swirling within me brought a mix of exhilaration and apprehension, as I recognized the perilous journey I was embarking on. Yet, I found it impossible to restrain myself. The initial instance of our private conversations unfolded one afternoon when my boss extended an invitation to dinner at an upscale restaurant. I distinctly recall the swirl of confusion and nervousness that enveloped me. Upon accepting his invitation, the meal unfolded in a warm ambience, illuminated by soft lighting and infused with a romantic essence, a stark contrast to the routine work meetings held in the office during dinner hours. My boss not only discussed work, but he also started to reveal more about his personal life. He discussed the challenges faced in the workplace and the weight of responsibility that comes with leading a company. The trust he placed in me resonated deeply, making me feel not just like an employee, but a true friend as well. His words grew gentler and more intimate. His gaze lingered on me, stirring a mix of confusion and undeniable attraction. That evening, his charm and sophistication were palpable, and I could clearly sense his affection for me. Every gesture, every word he uttered appeared to carry a deliberate intent, designed to evoke a tremor within me. My heart began to flutter in his presence, even as I grappled with my conflicting emotions. The undeniable allure of the man seated opposite me was captivating my attention in ways I couldn't ignore. A man I knew I should not get involved with. In the following late evenings at the office, he and I often stayed together, sitting after everyone had left. At first, we discussed work exchange, changing unfinished issues of the day, but gradually the conversations no longer revolved around work. We began to talk about life, about the worries and pressures we were both facing. He shared many private things. Things that I never imagined my employer would divulge. I knew it was wrong. I knew he had a family, a wife and children waiting for him back home. I had a husband, too, and we hadn't been married long. But the way he looked at me, the way his eyes followed me whenever I talked, made me feel unique. His attention was unlike anybody else's. I realized I was slowly getting sucked into this bizarre and attractive sensation. He made me feel important, as if I were the only one he cared about at the time. Every time we sat together I felt a connection intensify even though I knew I shouldn't continue. I could not refute it. I was lured into this romance. One evening, when the office was empty, just he and I remained. The room got unnaturally silent. The faint light from the computer screen was the only source of illumination in the room, resulting in a mysterious and intimate atmosphere. We had completed work a long time ago, yet neither of us seemed in a rush to get home. The chat continued on, getting increasingly personal rather than simply business-related. My breathing became erratic, and my pulse rate increased every time he peered deeply into my eyes. There was something in his eyes, a desire I couldn't ignore, and then the unexpected happened. He stood up and got closer. I felt every step. The tension in the space seemed to increase every second before I could react. He gently took my hand. I was surprised. But instead of pulling my hand away, I let it be, feeling the warmth of his hand. My heart was pounding each beat so hard it felt like it was trying to escape my chest. All rational thoughts in my head seemed to disappear, leaving only the overwhelming feeling of the present moment. He moved closer. His breath brushed against my ear, so near that I could sense the warmth of it on my skin. And then he said, his voice hoarse yet unmistakably clear, "You are truly beautiful." The words coursed through me like an electric current. His words resonated within me, overshadowing every other thought. The tension in the air transformed into an overwhelming surge of emotion. I realized this was a boundary we must not breach. In that instant, an overwhelming allure enveloped me, one I found impossible to resist after his words brushed against my ear. I sensed his breathing quicken, each inhalation igniting a warmth against my skin. Before I had the chance to reply, he leaned in and gently brushed his fingers against my neck. The initial kiss was a profound experience, sending shivers through me. I attempted to hold back, yet with each kiss, I found myself enveloped in emotions that were entirely new to me. With each kiss, the moment stretched, growing warmer as his hands caressed my back with a gentle yet firm touch. Every gesture he made enveloped me in a sense of being treasured, causing my worries to fade into the background. I was aware that I was heading in the wrong direction, yet my body did not respond in the way my mind wished. I found myself unable to refuse or halt, ensnared in a whirlwind of feelings with no escape in sight. He started to unfasten my shirt, each button released slowly and deliberately. With every button released, the cold air of the room brushed against my bare skin, making me tremble involuntarily. He gazed at me with a mix of desire and assurance, his hands gliding gently yet with remarkable precision. I found myself at a loss, compelled to mirror his actions. With each layer of fabric shed from my form, I felt an undeniable pull toward a domain that felt foreign and uninvited. He lifted me and set me down on the desk. Each of his steps seemed to be carefully crafted. With a sense of certainty and ease, he lowered himself, his hands resting on my thighs, and in an instant, we had crossed the line. Everything seemed to explode with intensity. His passion resonated within me. Every motion appeared to defy my reasoning, and his voice echoed in my mind, flooding me with a tumult of longing and remorse. I was acutely aware of my mistake, recognizing that from that instant I had crossed a line, a truth I could not deny. Yet, despite this awareness, I found myself unable to resist the magnetic pull he exerted. It was as if I were succumbing to a spell, watching the foundations of my carefully constructed world disintegrate before my eyes. I convinced myself that our connection was destined to be fleeting. It wasn't genuine love, rather, it was a momentary obsession brimming with allure and missteps. I was aware that we were setting out on a perilous journey, one that held no promise ahead. As the days went by, the weight of what I was jeopardizing, my family, my career, and my self-respect, became increasingly evident. I feared that eventually the truth would surface, forcing us both to confront the unavoidable repercussions. I envisioned the heartbreaking reality of betraying the trust of those I hold dear, and even more devastating, the prospect of losing my own sense of self. I found myself ensnared in a web of fascination and remorse, uncertain of my path forward. Despite the awareness of the moral complexities at play, I was unable to resist the thrill of the forbidden, as the clandestine connection with my superior persisted, leaving me in a constant struggle between guilt and longing. Once I crossed that threshold, thoughts of him consumed me. The way his eyes sparkled, the warmth of his words, and the tenderness of his gestures all entwined to hold me captive in my infatuation. Then came a lengthy business trip that he and I had to embark on together, a significant company project that necessitated our overnight stay in another city. I sensed, deep down, what was about to unfold, and a blend of anticipation and fear coursed through me as That night, after work had concluded, he set off. We returned to the hotel, and shortly after entering the room, he came over to me. His eyes betrayed a longing that was impossible to ignore, and his gentle, caring gestures consistently made me feel like I was the sole focus of his affection. When he touched me again, I surrendered to that captivating allure without hesitation. I must confess, he possesses remarkable skills in bed. His skill and grace in every gesture and movement transported me to another realm, where all my worries and torments vanished with each touch. That night, I found myself utterly captivated, unable to escape the allure of his charm. From the very first touch, we were swept away in a whirlwind of intense emotions that seemed to stretch on indefinitely. I recall it vividly, if my memory serves me right. We went through 3 rounds together. Each round was like a new discovery, a challenge to every boundary that I thought I would never overcome. That night was a long night, but there was no sleep. The moments between us seemed to last forever, and I knew that from that moment I had completely sunk into this relationship. The feeling of being cherished and pampered by him made me forget all my previous worries and torments, letting myself be immersed in the enchantment of that night. The next day, after a long sleepless night, my boss and I returned to the company as if nothing had happened. On the outside we remained professional, still boss and employee, but on the inside I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Everything seemed to have changed for me, from his eyes to his words. They had a different meaning after that business trip. Our secret relationship continued to take place regularly but secretly. The meetings did not stop at the office, but also expanded to hotels in the city. Each time the excitement and thrill filled my mind, making me unable to resist the attraction of this relationship. We often met at in his office when everyone had left, or chose discreet hotels to avoid attention. Every time I was with him I was always satisfied, not only physically but also emotionally. He knows how to make me feel special, to make me forget the worries and torments I'm suffering from. Every time we touch each other I felt deeper into the vortex of this relationship. Although I knew that it was just a fleeting infatuation, I couldn't deny that the moments with him gave me a sense of satisfaction that I had never felt before. However, after about 3 months of our secret relationship, things began to change. I heard rumors that my boss's wife had begun to suspect us. Little signs in their daily lives seemed to have alerted her. Perhaps it was his late coming home or changes in his attitude towards his family, but somehow she began to notice and probe. I heard from colleagues that my boss's wife was trying to understand and monitor our every. This news made me feel more anxious and insecure than ever. She was not simply suspicious but clearly prepared to catch us red-handed. Every day I live in fear that everything will be exposed, that I will face the most serious consequences of this wrong relationship. However, my husband was completely unaware of this. He was often away from home due to military work, which gave me more opportunities to hide my relationship with my boss. Although I was filled with guilt every time he came home, I knew that to get to know each other deeply like other couples. But everything happened according to the family's plan. At that time I felt that marrying a good man with a stable career like him was the right choice. He was a calm, responsible man and always took care of everything in life. But in truth, between us there was never a strong love or passion like I had expected. Our married life was stable, but lacked the emotional closeness that I had always longed for. That perhaps was one of the reasons why I was easily drawn into a relationship with my boss, someone who gave me the excitement and attention I had never felt in my arranged marriage. One evening when I was home alone, my phone suddenly rang with a strange text message from an anonymous number. My heart beat faster as I opened the message, and a feeling of dread quickly enveloped me. And the content of the message was clear and threatening. If I did not end my relationship with my boss and leave him, I would regret it. Although there was no sender's name, I knew clearly that it was most likely for my boss's wife. Her suspicions were no longer just probing but had become a direct warning. The words in the message were angry and harsh, as if she already knew everything and was just waiting for me to do something to face the consequence. As I read the news, I felt a chill run down my spine, my heart pounding in my chest. The fear I had kept hidden for so long was now before my eyes. I Knew I could not continue like this. This is wrong relationship not only threatened my job and marriage, but now it had put me in a dangerous situation. Fear was growing inside me and I knew I had to do something before things got out of hand. I decided to meet my boss at a restaurant on Friday night to talk things out. I kept feeling pressured and stressed, torn between the love I felt for him and the fear of losing everything. On Friday night we met at a familiar restaurant where we had previously had secret dates. I could see the curiosity in his eyes as I started talking. After a few opening words I couldn't hold back anymore and got straight to the point. I told him about the threatening text messages from his wife and how she knew about our relationship. I told him that we needed to stop for the sake of our families. Even though he tried to stay calm, I could sense his frustration and unwillingness to accept. He sat silently for a while, as if thinking about what I had said. Reluctantly he finally agreed that this was the right thing to do. He understood that we could not continue to sink deeper into this dangerous relationship. After dinner we decided to spend one last time together. We both quietly went to a hotel where we had met before. That night passed with many complicated emotions about separation, regret, but also a little relief because everything had to end. That was the last time I was with him. The next day, I decided to quit my job at the company. I knew that I could not continue working there where all the memories with him would only torment me. I needed to leave and start over. Stopped, and although that decision hurt me, I understood that it was the only thing that could save my life and was a deep wound in my heart that I had to bear. That wrong relationship left marks that I could not easily forget. I was lost in frivolous emotions and unnecessary temptations, but through it all I finally realized that my worth doesn't lie in the attention and praise from others, but in the respect and honesty I have for myself and the people I love. I was employed as the head of human resources for another real estate firm. In this role I not only focused on work but also attempted to reconstruct myself in order to restart my life. I reminded myself that honesty and self-respect are the most crucial values I must uphold, not just for others but also for myself. Everything will pass, but the lesson from this loss will be with me forever, reminding me of my true value and the essential things in life. As someone who has been lost in a hidden relationship, I want to offer one genuine message with you: quit now before it's too late. I understand that you may be caught up in the excitement and ephemeral moments that this connection provides, but keep in mind that it is never lasting and only causes sorrow. Don't sacrifice your honesty and self-worth to satisfy fleeting impulses. Sneaking not only harms you, but it also has a negative impact on your family and loved ones. If you see Antanu, you will have to live in agony, fearing that one day all will be revealed and you will lose everything: family, career, and self-respect. I encourage you, based on my own terrible experience, not to allow transitory emotions to cloud your judgment. Love correctly, accept reality, and make sound judgments. Breaking up now may be unpleasant, but it is the only way to safeguard your ideals and preserve what is actually essential in life.